Mark hadn't planned to end up at the clinic. He was a 32-year-old software engineer, burned out, barely sleeping, and ignoring the sharp pain in his shoulder that had been creeping in for weeks. One wrong twist while getting out of bed, and he felt something tear. Grumbling, he drove himself to the nearest walk-in clinic, not expecting much. Sterile lights, impersonal staff, the usual. But when the nurse walked in, everything changed. Her name tag read, Nurse Elise. Tall, poised, and calm, with warm hazel eyes and soft curls tucked behind her ears, she gave him a glance that made his pulse jump, though maybe that was just the pain. Or so he told himself. Nurse Elise examined his chart, but her eyes kept flicking back to him. "You really should have come in sooner," she said, gently peeling his shirt down to get a look at his shoulder. Her fingers brushed against his skin, cool at first, then lingering just a second too long. Mark tried not to react, but the intimacy of the touch caught him off guard. There was something in her voice, too. Professional, yes, but warm. Personal. She asked him to lie back on the bed so she could check his range of motion. Her hand steadied him, her breath just beside his ear as she leaned in. The air between them charged. He swallowed, unsure whether this was just his imagination. "I can feel the inflammation," she said, her fingers pressing in, "but it's deeper than just the muscle. You've been carrying more than just physical strain, haven't you?" Mark froze. No nurse had ever said anything like that. After finishing her assessment, Elise lingered. "You're my last patient for the evening," she said, her tone shifting, almost playful. "Would you mind if I tried something a little unconventional?" Curious and aching, Mark nodded. She dimmed the light slightly and pulled out a small jar of massage balm. "My grandmother taught me this remedy," she said, warming the balm between her palms. "It's for healing, not just the shoulder." Mark could barely breathe as she slowly applied the balm, her hands gliding with an expert's grace down his neck, his back, his arm. The line between nurse and woman blurred. Her movements were deliberate, confident, caring, and undeniably intimate. "I think you need more than a prescription," she whispered, her fingers lingering on his chest now, her eyes meeting his. He turned toward her, gently placing a hand on hers. "What are you offering?" She smiled, that same calm warmth in her eyes. "Comfort, connection, maybe something else, if we're both willing." He sat up slowly, looking at her with a mixture of wonder and disbelief. "Are you sure?" he asked. She nodded. "It's been a long week, and you're not the only one who needs healing." With that, she leaned in, her lips brushing his. Not rushed, not hungry, but searching. They kissed, and it felt less like sparks and more like grounding. Like the weight of exhaustion melting from both their shoulders. The rest of the world slipped away. The antiseptic smell of the room, the clinical walls, they didn't matter. Her fingers in his hair, his arms around her waist, the low hum of tension finally released. They didn't rush. Every movement was careful, explorative. Her blouse fell away, then his shirt. Their connection deepened with every whispered breath and lingering caress. They collapsed into each other like two people who had forgotten what it meant to be held, remembered in that moment that care could come in many forms. When Mark woke, sunlight was peeking through the edge of the window blinds. Elise was beside him, dressed in her scrubs again, sipping coffee. "You're still here," he said, smiling. She nodded. "You passed out halfway through my shift. I stayed to make sure the balm worked." He laughed. "It worked, all right." She leaned over and kissed his forehead. "I'll probably get written up for this," she said, "but I don't regret it." Mark looked at her, really looked. This hadn't been about lust. It had been about connection, comfort, something rare in both their lives. "Dinner?" he asked. She smiled. "Only if I don't have to check your vitals again." Sometimes healing doesn't come from pills or procedures. Sometimes it's found in a shared moment, a soft touch, a brave choice, and sometimes, just sometimes, the nurse gives you more than a checkup. She gives you what you didn't know you needed.